Hi, my name's Winnie. I work at OP Labs and I am a contributor to the Optimism Collective. And I guess today's agenda, first I'm going to run through what is the OP stack, give a quick overview of what is the OP stack and the superchain. And then I'm going to introduce what is Scaffold OP, Optimism's official boilerplate for building dApps on the superchain. And I'll just show a quick demo on how to deploy a dApp in under 5 minutes. Or if I don't do it, I guess I can shave my head so you can hold me to the 5-minute test. Yeah, so can I have a show of hands of how many people here actually know what, 1 second. It's not sharing? Okay. Like this? What about now? Is it sharing? What about now? No? Okay, I see what the problem is. Okay, so let's just do this. What about now? Okay. Okay, I'll just go with this. I think this is fine. And this is also not showing? Crazy. Oh yeah, wait, I can do this. What about now? Okay, amazing. Okay, so let me get back to this. Yeah, can I have a show of hands of how many people actually know what the OP stack is or have heard of the superchain? Okay, so how many of you have actually built something on the OP stack or on the superchain before? Like, okay, nice. So you've never heard of the OP stack, but you've built something on it? Yeah, because you didn't raise your hand on like the first question. No, it's fine, it's fine. Yeah, so yeah, I guess because there's so many diversity of people here, I would just explain what exactly is the OP stack and the superchain a little bit. So I guess zooming out, why do we need L2s in the first place? Like, why can't we just like deploy everything on L1 and just call it a day? And the reason is that like L1 fees are extremely expensive. So right now it costs about $4 to send just an Ethereum transaction. And if we're trying to compete with something like Visa, then we need like something much cheaper. And with something like EIP 4844 that rolled out recently, now we have like sub-cent fees on OP mainnet, which is amazing. But why do we need, like, why are fees expensive on L1? Fees are expensive in L1 because we have limited block space. And the reason why we have limited block space is that we need to bound compute somehow on Ethereum. Otherwise, like people just never, the program will never end, and basically like validators would not be able to validate blocks within a 12-minute time frame, a 12-second time frame. So this is why L1 fees are expensive and we need L2s. So one way of like lowering the fees is basically to kind of take compute off of L1 and use like basically take the compute off chain, and instead of like doing the compute on chain, now you're just posting a commitment of that transaction onto L1. So this significantly decreases the cost of transaction. And that's essentially what an L2 is today. It's off-chain computation, but secured by on-chain commitment. So now that we understand why we need L2s, and let's look at the state of L2 today. We have a lot of L2s, like a lot of L2s. And this is actually quite an amazing thing. Like, I think that's the best thing that ever happened, that we have so many L2s. Because even if like OP mainnet were to run on like the beefiest supercomputer today, like we still need, like, basically one way to think about it is, like, if you only have one L2, you can have one supercomputer, but you would not be able to have parallel computing or sharded computing. So the reason why we have a lot of L2s is to kind of enable this parallel computation. But the problem with the way we're dealing with L2s today is that the way we're introducing new chains is not exactly good. So there's like primarily 3 problems in my opinion. So first, with every new chain, you introduce a new code base, which means a new security model. And that also means new zero-day bugs that have never been seen before. So right now, whenever we deploy a chain, or at least the process of optimism is, you deploy a code base and that code base needs to be audited. And even though it's gone through serious auditing, you still need to kind of put it in the real world and get it battle tested. And if you have to do that for every new chain that is deployed, that's endless amount of unknown bugs that is just waiting to be caught. And these are high security systems that need to be extremely secure, so that's not good. And another problem with the way we're deploying new chains today is every new chain is new software. That means we need to bootstrap new validator sets and sequencers. And the third problem is fragmentation and liquidity. So the big question is then, is there a way to have this kind of horizontal scalability, but with a unified security model and unified liquidity? And this is a really tough question, but the answer that we have at OPStack is actually quite simple and elegant. And how you would achieve this is essentially through establishing an open source standard in the L2 landscape. So, and that's exactly what the OPStack is. So the OPStack basically is a way of creating is an open source standard that we built internally for OP mainnet before. But now we're open sourcing it for free and for anyone to use and to deploy their own chain. So by creating and collaborating on the same open source standard, we can actually recycle code that has been battle tested and avoid a ton of zero-day bugs. So that's why the OP stack is where you should build, because this is where things are happening. Yeah, and also because of the shared code base, now you have this just naturally you get this very nice property of interoperability. Like it's not happening now, but you can imagine if all the chains are using the same standard, bridging liquidity from base is gonna be from base to Zora and then Zora to OP mainnet. It's just going to be a lot easier because now you have the same security model and the same code base. So yeah, so that's really exciting. And okay, so to reiterate, the OP stack is basically this open source standard for L2s that anyone can freely use and to deploy their own chain. And the super chain is basically the ecosystem of all these chains who are working on top of the OP stack and contributing to the cause of the Optimism Collective together. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about what is OP stack and the super chain, or why you should build on this? Yes. How do we patch all of them? That's a really great question. So I'm not on the engineering team, but the situation is, I mean, it also depends on like what kind of bug is this. If this is a bug in the OP node, which is like the software that the validator runs, then it's a very different process than, let's say, if this was a bug in the smart contracts on L1 securing the funds, right? And the way I understand it is, if you have like a bug in the L1 contract today, we actually have a security council that allows you to roll back the rollup and to a state before it was screwed. So that's one way of mitigating the 0-day bug. It's to literally just roll back with the consent of this decentralized security council. If it's something that's happening on the OP node, then it's likely like a situation that's causing like the block to not finalize, or like the head not syncing to the front. Then like in that case, I'm actually not really sure what happens. I think we definitely have like teams who would look into, like there's obviously people on call, so they would look into this issue immediately. And also the OP stack is like a collaboration between like multiple core teams. So it's not just like OP Labs who's working on the OP stack. There's also Coinbase's Base, Zora, and also Test and Prod. These are all teams that like we can rely on to build out features and also like secure things if things go wrong. But that's my understanding of your question. I'm not sure if that was a good answer. Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, so that's the end of my presentation on the Superchain and OP stack. And I guess next I'll explain a little bit about Scaffold OP. So Scaffold OP, I don't know how many people here have used Scaffold ETH before, but it's basically the most popular library to build any dApp in Ethereum today. And Scaffold OP is basically this minimum difference fork that implements some native support for the superchain. So Scaffold OP uses like Next.js, Hardhat, WogMe, TypeScript. So all of the most like user-friendly and also the most up-to-date stack to build a dApp today. And it also offers like a really smooth deployment experience to the superchain testnets. And got some other dApp examples that make more sense than the original repo. So this is what Scaffold OP is. And just to show you guys like how easy it is to use, I guess I can run through like a demo. Let's see if I can do this in 5 minutes. Okay, so I have copied the code here. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Do you think you can hold it for me? Thank you so much. Yeah, so right now I have git cloned everything, the original repo, and also installed all the dependencies. And to start a chain, I just have to do yarn chain, which spins up the local testnet. And the default testnet is going to be on Hardhat. So you see the Hardhat chain is spin up, and now I'm going to do yarn start, which starts the front end on Next.js. And let's see. Okay, yeah, so this is going to be like what you see when you deploy the boilerplate. And there's some nice features here, like if you're on the, let's switch to the right network, and you can see, like, I'll show, okay, let me do this. First, I guess I will also deploy the set of contracts that I have in this repo. So just to show what is in the contract. Oh, yeah. Packages, Hardhat, contracts. So there's 2 examples here. One is called Buy Me a Coffee, and the other one is just called Your Contract. I'll show you in a second of what it is. Oops. Yarn deploy. Calling yarn deploy basically deploys the contracts here into the local testnet. And for anyone using Scaffold OP or even Scaffold ETH, I would recommend just ignoring this bug. It's just something in MetaMask that I haven't been able to figure out what's going on. Yeah, so now if you go to deploy contracts, you can actually see the contracts that you deployed. And Scaffold OP provides this really simple interface for you to interface with the functions in the contract. And if you're using a local testnet, there's also a block explorer that you can take a look to see exactly what transactions you've called. And there's also local testnets that you can just get direct ETH from. And now that I've deployed a simple dApp onto a local testnet, what if I want to deploy the same dApp onto the superchain testnets? And there's also this really nice, easy way to do this, and it's just called Yarn Deploy Network Options, I believe. Yep, and then you just select whatever chain you want to deploy to. You can actually deploy to multiple of them at once. Let's say if I want to do all of the above. Okay, wait, let me roll back a second. I forgot to mention that what exactly am I following. So this is the repo of Scaffold OP, and it contains like all the instructions that I just demonstrated. Yarn chain, yarn deploy, yarn start. And what I'm doing right now is basically trying to deploy a contract to any of the superchain testnets. So for example, if I'm trying to deploy to Optimism Sepolia, then first I will have to basically create use my private key that has Sepolia ETH in it and update the environment file, which I have done so as to not show you my private keys before, during the presentation. But so I've done this step already, and now I'm running yarn deploy. And let's say if I want to do all of the chains. So now it's just going to deploy to, right now, for example, it's deploying to OP Sepolia. 1 second. Yeah, so you can check that it is deployed successfully on the, yeah, so it got deployed 12 seconds ago. Yeah, and that's how you deploy a dApp on any OP stack chain in under 5 minutes. And let me go back to my presentation. Oh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that was the demo. I have a bunch of, is there a way that I can share the repo for the boilerplate? Is there somewhere I can do that? Okay, I will somehow find a way to share the repository to the boilerplate. But yeah, if you have any questions regarding the superchain, OP stack, how to build on it, how to deploy on it, I will be in the hackathon as a mentor for the next 2 days. And I would love to talk to any developer who's interested in Optimism, superchain. And yeah, this is the end of my presentation. I did wrap up in 5 minutes. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Weenie.